Hey, what's going on, guys? How all you are doing? Welcome to a new video tutorial from IPNewest. In today's one, we're gonna just make a command line interface on Node.js and using, of course, JavaScript. So we're just gonna go step by step on the process of making a command line interface, and I'll probably explain what is a command line interface and just making it so, since Node.js is very powerful, JavaScript is very powerful, and NPM has a lot of packages that are gonna help us achieving the best performance and the best style out there. So yeah, we can do that very easily in Node.js. And in most cases, you're gonna need like command line interface if for a lot of things to do, rather than just going ahead and creating a graphical user interface. You just use the command line and it can do the job for you like exactly the same, so and more efficiently, because you're not gonna focus on the graphics side, just the command side. Enough talking about yada things. Let's just dive right into this. So before starting, you're gonna need a couple of packages from Node.js. Again, so if you're not familiar with Node.js, if you're a beginner to Node.js, I have a full course series on my channel, so just go ahead and check it out. Watch the series. It's very self-explanatory, so you can understand what we are actually going to do, or what we are actually doing on this particular tutorial. So before, as I've said, we need a couple of packages. Some of them are optional, some of them are like necessary for the sake of this tutorial. So this Figlet or Figlets or whatever you're gonna call it, so this just gonna allow you to convert like a text like hello world into an ASCII or ASCII text, as you can see in here, made using characters, like just beautify your application. So if you're unfamiliar with command line interfaces, it uses this one, or make your application looks a bit better. So you can just use it, installing it. The other thing, and this is very necessary, using commander.js, and this commander.js is gonna allow us just to parse the arguments that we're gonna pass into our program, and just parse them, do some options, and submit some like actions on commands and stuff. So just gonna talk about briefly on this. The other thing is Inquirer. So Inquirer, all of those are linked on the description below, so just go ahead and check them out, or just go ahead and just check Inquirer, check commander.js, and yeah, we're just gonna talk about Figlets out there. And as I've said, Inquirer is just going to allow you to inquire or ask some questions. So you can scroll all the way down. It's just going to give you this really nice user interface out there, or down here. And it's just going to let you give you a list to select from, I don't know, orders, checkboxes, input fields. So it just make you or interacts with the user a little bit more easier, and more gives your application more flexibility and stuff like this. So yeah, it's gonna be very easy to use the Inquirer, and makes our app actually looks a bit better. The last thing we're gonna just cover is the chalk, and this is one of the optionals, so you're not needed that much, but this will help you to color your your text for printing on the command line. So if you want to beautify your text and print it using colors, whatever colors are there, even with background colors, magenta, I don't know, cyan colors or blue, whatever. So you can use the chalk library, just install it, and you are ready to go. So all of those are just in there. Yeah, you are good to go after installing this. So just go ahead and create a new project. As you can see, I've already done a couple of things in here in this project. For just the sake of time, I will go step by step on this. So I will explain why I've done this. But before this, you need to install the things I was talking about actually, and the packages I was naming a couple of seconds ago. So just go ahead, make sure to let me just close this, run a new one. And make sure to use npm, and make sure Node.js is installed on your machine, and just run npm install. And you need to install chalk, as I've said, commander, which is necessary, Figlet, Inquirer, I don't know, I can't type, and Mongoose. Mongoose, I haven't talked about it because I've already gone and done a tutorial on that. So it is a Mongodb Database wrapper, so which allow you to connect into a Mongodb or an actual database, so you can fetch and save data into, which in this case we're going to use Mongodb to store our data, which is going to be the contacts. So we're just going to work on a contacts application, store the data on, and fetch the data from. So you can see we have some Mongo, so make sure to install it. So if you're not familiar with that, I have the last video tutorial I've spoken about and gone step by step on Mongo's and MongoDB and explaining everything. So make sure to check it out if you really want to understand what we're actually doing on this particular tutorial. So enough talking. After installing of that, just setting up some Node.js and make sure you know what are you doing. You are good to go. Now just dive into the main.js. I've named this main.js because this is the core or the main thing, or yeah, from where our application is going to be running. So let me just minimize this so you can see a bit better. Now here we have imported the program. The program just comes from the commander, the inquirer from the inquirer, the figlets from the figlets, and the chalk from the chalk. So just make sure to require all of those. Also, we are requiring Mongo's. I'm not just going to explain the Mongo's thing because I already done this, as I've said. So just watch the video tutorials and you will briefly understand what we are doing in here. So Mongo's, and just gone created a new schema or imported the schema, and here I've done an event emitter. Why I have done the event emitter? So when I connect into the database, I will submit a special event called connected, so I will know that we are connected to the base and we are ready to fetch or save or whatever, interact with the database respectively without errors or without problems, nothing at all. So we are connected and we are good to go. So here we're connecting to the database, MongoDB localhost, and we are naming our collection contact list. This collection takes as a table, so we're naming it contact list, and we're just checking for errors, and here emitting, of course, this event connected event. Simple as that. Here in the schema, what we have is a first name, last name, number, and a gender. And by the way, we are making a contact list application. So what's actually this application is going to do is a contact manager. So just, I don't know, type your name of application and type the command line. For example, add contact, and here you specify your contact details like the first name, the last name, and yada yada yada, the phone number. Press enter, and it's going to add this for you into the database, or you can fetch this specific contact from the database. Stuff like this, yeah, can happen like this. So here we're just creating the schema, as I've said, first name, the last name, the number, and the gender. We are good to go, and here we have the contacts, which are just compiling our schema into the model or MongoDB model. So here we're good to go using contacts. For this, I have just a little I don't know, tiny array of objects that holds our information. I've created this arbitrary phone numbers, arbitrary names in here. So make sure to use yours. Whatever, I've just gonna create this, and I need to go ahead and take this into the MongoDB. So if you're not familiar with the MongoDB campus thing, it's just gonna allow you or give you a graphical user interface that you can manipulate your databases and add and just manage them. Here I'm gonna just call this contact list and also contact list. And let me just name the database contact. So create a database and go under the database, this collection, and yeah, we're just gonna insert a new document. We give it all of this information in here. So you guys, you can give me a second doing this. Now, after inserting into the database manually, of course, you can do this automatically by just creating a script in here. It does this, but it's just fine in here. Just creating you a name and a number. And since our schema does have a first name, a last name, and a number, and a gender, all of that, our database doesn't have this kind of things. So what we're going to do is just get rid of that. Just for the sake of this tutorial, make it as simple as possible for you to understand what we're actually doing. So let me just provide this name and just give it type string, and we are going to give it the required to true. So required isn't what we want, and yeah, we are good to go over here. Now, after requiring all of the needed apps over here, so what we can do is just use the commander. So we've named the commander, or after requiring it, we've named it the program, and this is the main thing, or this is the main program or the main parser. So we're gonna give it or feed it in our arguments that we're gonna pass in from the argument v. So all we're doing here, so just scroll the way down. As I've said, we have a couple of functions we're gonna use with the inquirer in a second. So I'm just gonna show you how to use this efficiently and make your application looks much more better than any other application using inquirer and commander and some kind of styling and colorful things and stuff like this. So as I've said, for a program, all you need to do is just use the program, and there's a couple of methods. One of them is the option. So the option method is going to provide you with a flag. So for example, if you're familiar with passing in, let's say you are a program called main.js, then you pass in a flag. So let's say for dash dash add or something, and or just a shortcut for a, or dash v for a version or something like this. This is what I'm going to do in this particular case. So for the option here, it gets a string. The first thing is string. So let's say we want to give it an option of, I don't know, f and force. Let's just force some operation over here. The second one is description, some forcing installing, or force install, for example, some kind of description, so you would know when you use help, because the program gonna provide you with an automatic help. Once you provide the help, or once you need the help, just type in dash dash help, just gonna give you an automatic help over here. So the description gonna help him using, or gonna help the commander in order for us to create the help section or the help message for the users that's going to use this application. The other one is the regex, some regex things. So what these regex are is like, it provides them or gives you a way for checking. Let's say you're gonna need only a number, so you accept only a number, so you can use some kind of a callback or a function in here that gonna just go ahead and check for this, if a number, if it's actually a number or no, so it can tell him that this is an error, you must include or enter a number or something like this. Very similar, but we're not gonna use it. As I've said, the last thing is you can also give it a default value for when the user do not enter anything in here. So this is like the option thing whenever you enter it, and after the option you need to parse the arguments you're gonna pass in. So use a program and parse methods, and you're gonna give it the arguments. So we use the process, the modular from Node or Node.js. This is like main modular. It's always available for your application. So the process is gonna have, or like some basic things like the arguments, and I don't know, a lot of things, the argument v, argument 0, a lot of OS specific things. So we need to parse it in, and to check if the option has been like triggered, or if the user have set or sets this option or no, we use the program, or we use if statement and program and dot force over here. So make sure to name this the same as you have named this parameter, not the first one, not the shortcut, the full option name. So make sure to name it the same. If you have here like add, use add over here, and so on and so forth. So this is like how you check in. It's just gonna a boolean type, whether true or false for the provided thing. And then just try for console.log forcing, for example, for, I don't know, I can't type forcing, and yeah. Now let's try our program, Node.js. Make sure to use Node main.js in order to compile it or run it using Node. And here, let's say we're gonna give it like dash force. So submit, and let me just maximize this a bit so you can see what we are doing. And as you can see, we are forcing over here, so it checks everything, and it's just gonna print us this really nice minified message. So yeah, this is how it works. It's very, very simple to provide it with options over here. But what we need for our application, we don't need options alone, so we're gonna need some commands, or we need to provide it with commands. So let's just get rid of this option, and I'm gonna use the program.command method. And command method gonna allow us to provide him or feed it to him some custom commands, for example. So the first command we're gonna use, let's say, is add a contact, and this command is going to add a new contact into our database, which we have like connected to it like up here. So make sure to connect to it, or if you're not familiar with MongoDB and you want to learn with it, I have a full course series, as I've said, on my channel. So just go ahead and check it out before watching this video tutorial, because it's going to help you a lot understanding what we are actually doing over here. So as I've said, now, using the command method, we just give it an add context, for example. And if you want a variable, and for example, we wanted the first name variable over here, so make sure to use it like braces, between braces, and you can put multiple variables over here, or whatever, like many variables or multiple ones, not only one. It supports multiple things. And I don't know, you use HTML over here. So this is how we say this is gonna reference a variable. Then you can give it a description. You can put put the description between or the same thing in here, but using this method gonna allow you to use the action. So make sure to do it like this: description, add new contact, and we're using the action, and the action is going to fire up once this command is going to submit it. So once we submit the command, let me just exit this and clear. So once you submit the method into our program, this action is going to fire up as a callback. So take it as a callback over here, and the action takes a callback, and the callbacks takes the variables we're going to put in. So when we put a first name, it takes in the first name. If you have multiple variables, make sure to feed it in the multiple variables over here. So make sure to use the same order as the variable referencing in here in order to make sure that everything is going to work fine. Not or making like order of the variables really matters over here. So yeah, make sure to order them correctly. Let's say we're gonna console.log I don't know, add in, for example, first name. Here we are adding first name, as I've said, the action and the description. You must use the description method for some kind of like, if you don't, it's gonna tell you that you need to create a new file for this command, where like you don't need it for this particular case, but you can use it for much more bigger project. You can check this out for in the documentation of Commander. Just search for Commander documentation, and it's gonna help you a lot on understanding how this actually works. It's pretty easy actually. Now let's try Node and main.js, and for example give it add contact. So make sure to like add the contact over here, and let's give it Islam Pinwis for example. So the name is Islam Pinwis. Press enter, wait for the program to compile for a bit, and yeah, this is how we give it. You can also provide here like an options. So you give it a command and an options to the command. So let's say for example add contacts, and I don't know, some options like filter, or add it at the end, or add it at the middle, or some kind of an options that you can provide using also the dot option method. So you can include the dot option method, and you give it up in there, and it's just gonna work fine, like very perfectly without no issues. I think the program can't use this since we are not using it correctly. So let me just clear this again and run this over again. So as I've said, add in new contact. Make sure to not use some like options are not being defined anymore, so just get rid of them. And here we have node main.js Islam Pinwis, and as you can see, add in Islam Pinwis. So this is like working fine with no problems. As I said, you can add custom options into here. So let's try now to add like the real contacts into our application or into our database. So let's get rid of this, minimize this a bit in order to see what we're doing. And if you scroll all the way down or all the way up actually, you can find that we're connecting to the database or naming on database contact clicks. You can use the campus into like taking a closer look on our database, on our data in there. So I've put it just simple data on this database. So if you can just go ahead into this database, I've named it, I believe, a contact and a collection of contact clicks. Take a collection as a table, so always this. So I've just put it two things like a name and a number. So the name is Alex, for example, a number just in some arbitrary number, and Islam Pinwis and a number, another arbitrary, yada yada yada. So this is how we're going to insert a name and a number. So just making it as simple as possible. You can add a much more complicated attributes and different type of attributes over here, but just make it as simple as possible over here. I'm having a gender in here, so let's just get rid of it, since we're gonna just only need for the database to have the name and the number under the schema, and then we're compiling the schema over here so we can use it down here. So let's say when the action, we are going to take the name, and this is going to be a name. Let me just change from the first name to name, and we're gonna add a new variable. It's going to be the number. So the new user number or the new contact number. So here we add the number as well, and yeah, this is how it should works fine. And let's try to like, I don't know, use the database. So let's say our model, let's create a new model. Let's contacts, for example, not using the new contacts. I believe I have this one in here. So let me just scroll the way up in order to check if everything is working fine. Yeah, the model named contact, so everything is working fine. Let's pass in the data we want in here. So the name is going to be the first and the number. So make sure to use name, and number, since they are the same, or name the same as the keys and the values. So number and name. Now we can save this into the database using contact. I don't know why I'm using this, but okay, .save, just for naming, non-naming conflicts. Sorry, this. And we are saving, as I've said, and it takes a method. So the method is going to take is, the first thing, get an error. The second thing is, let's name it CT for contact, just a shortcut, if error, console.error, cannot add new contact, and else we just gonna console.log contact added successfully. And let's say, for example, here, let's try to add some colorful things. So let's try to add this console.log, and there some kind of a green color just means that we have successfully added that into the database without or with no errors. So for that, we're gonna use the chalk, as you can say. So we have included it or required it in the up here. So chalk is very easy to use, just using the chalk or the main constructor, using that, and give it a method. There's a different method like RGB for a custom colors, sorry, and you can use predefined methods. Let's say we're gonna use, as I've said, green, not blue. So green, and let's give it the text. Text it's going to take as yeah, the same as, so let me just, I don't know what's happening to me. I'm so confused doing this. Let's copy this text, put it without, and we put this under console.log. So let me just copy this and console.log, and at the end over there. So this should print us a very nice method over there. Let's just clear, it's already been cleared. Let's give it the add new contact, the first name, and let's give it the number. For example, an arbitrary number, I don't know, something like this. Okay, let's try to add it now. And we should wait. Contact are successful. As you can see, we are getting a really nice green color, and like the contacts added successfully. And yeah, if you can go to the database, we check for this. Like, I don't know, let's try the last one. And I'm not seeing anything. Oh, I have already Slampinwist in the database, so, or I haven't refreshed this. I haven't refreshed it actually. As I've said, I have already the database, like already having the Slampinwist in there, so we just can't add this 2 times. But yeah, it's working fine. So let's just clear. Now let's use Inquirer for adding to the database. So for the Inquirer, you can just ask some questions. And Inquirer can use some really nice user interface or UI for you, or to provide it to the user you want to ask questions. Let's say you want to, like, when the user type add contact, you start asking some questions one or step by step. So the first question, let's say you want to ask give me your first name. The user enters his first name, press enter, and you just ask another question. Give me your last name, whatever, give me your number, something like this, and so on and so forth. You can ask him with checkboxes, lists, and different type of things, so he can enter in here. And you can do custom checking as well. So if you can see, or as you can see, we have I have already defined a questions array here, which holds a couple of objects, and that object has a type. A type indicates which type we're going to use, which is the input. So this is like a custom types from the Inquirer. So we're going to provide or feed in these questions into the main Inquirer prompt method. So it's just going to render all of this, make sure to use it or order it as you want. So the first one is going to be the first one in here, or the first one in the array is going to be the first question which is going to be asked to the user, and so on and so forth. So the name, we're going to use it for referencing that later on, and a message to provide to the user. Here for the validate attribute, you're just going to give it, I'm giving it in here, as you can see, ESX syntax, just ESX syntax. I'm giving it a function or a callback that it's going to check if length just less than return, please enter your first name, else true. So make sure to enter your name, not the length is 0, so you haven't entered your name, and so on and so forth. So it's just basic things. Import as well, import. And here for the gender, I'm just having some kind of male and female, but I'm not including it really on the database, so this makes no sense, but I just want to show you how you can use less than here and how it can be very, very nice to be used. So in order to ask things like this, so let's try to go ahead and just comment all of this code, because I'm not going to use the database right now. So just comment this code and use inquire. So I've already included inquire. Make sure to install it in your projects. And it has a couple of methods over here. So the prompt method is going to prompt us some questions. As you can see, it takes questions. It's going to be an array. So we have already defined that or predefined this. So we're just going to ask them the questions, and you can use the then method. So then method is going to run once all of the questions are submitted, and it's going to take some answers. And this answers isn't like an object, and this object has a key value pairs. Each key has the name, gender, so you can just provide gender, it's just gonna give you the answer. You can provide number in here, just gonna give you the phone number, like how objects works, a value or key value pairs. So it's really, really nice. And this is a callback actually, so let's try to provide a callback, and here we can using console.log, and let's use chalk. So chalk.blue, let's now try blue, and it just prints out all the answers at once. So now control save, and let's run node. Let me just use these keys and enter whatever number in here. But we don't need this actually. So let me try, or we can use it for now, since inquire can like just ask us more questions in here, but you can feel free to remove those, because since you're gonna use require only, so just remove all of the variables in here and remove them from here, and you're ready to go. So as you can see, we've got a really nice like interface asking us enter your first name, for example Islam Perna, or just my first name. For last name, let's say my real name, by the way, is not Islam Finuis. So yeah, just do not get confused. Enter your number, for example, like just arbitrary number, and it give me please enter a valid number. Why is that happening? Let's just jump right into this. I have a custom valid function. What if this function does is just takes a regular expression and compare it with our string or with our number. If just what I'm saying in here is you must take as a maximum and minimum number of 10 numbers. So you must enter a number between 10 and 10. So the maximum and the minimum is 10. So you can't you can't enter more than 10 numbers or less than 10 numbers. The phone number must be 10 digits. That's it. So very simple, very basic. As I've said, you can use your own custom validation function in here, which is pretty cool. Let's try to add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or 10 for the 0. Enter your phone number, as you can see, it just get it. And now select your gender, use arrow keys. So using the arrow keys, you're gonna give you really nice to select. So you can select male or female, and you are ready to go. So let's try one and select male. Thank you guys for watching. I really do hope you enjoyed. I really want the video to be very, very long, so that's why I'm cutting it over here. I will catch you. So anyway, I will catch you in the next one.